Hi Year 10. So this week we'll be, if we haven't already been to your house, we'll be coming round to deliver a pack. This is so we can get your Journeys project finished. It's not exactly as we would have done it had we been at school, but we think that this is the best way for you to complete this project at home. Alongside that, we're going to do little videos each week and put them out. They're not going to be the slick professional videos you're used to if you've been following the Creative Challenge ones, but they'll give you little tips and help to show you what it is we're after. If you do this work, you will still get a strong project and you'll still be on track for your target grade if you do it at the level that you're capable of. So Miss Mitchell's just going to talk through the pack and how this will work.
Okay, so in your pack you've got a sketchbook and you've got lots of different pieces of paper. In the side of the booklets, it will tell you which pieces you need and when to use them, so keep those nice and safe. Same for those, and same for that card that we've delivered around as well. So in your booklets there's a tick to-do list, so make sure you're keeping on top of that when you do the tasks. And then just read through the introduction page. It tells you what these symbols mean. So whenever you see a YouTube symbol, it means that there's one of these tutorial videos to help you through that task. When you're working through your sketchbook, please make sure you're working on just one side of your page, because this is going to be taken apart and mounted into your A3 sketchbooks when we come back to school. So when you're working through your books, make sure you're working on one page and then not on the back. Okay? And then lastly, if there's anything that you're not sure about, there's our email addresses at the bottom on there, so you can drop us an email and we'll get back to you. And so you're just going to work through this booklet, through the tasks, watching the videos. There'll be, if you subscribe to the videos, then you'll get a notification of when a new one goes out, so you know which task you're on. Okay?
So the first video is going to help you with your observational drawings of skulls. Remember, we'll show you a couple of ways of doing it, but then you need to push yourself and think creatively about how you can achieve these yourself. Use the materials that we've provided you with, but if you've got any other materials at home, then please try and use those as well.
Okay, so in your packs you'll find your booklet, and I want you to turn to page task 1. You need your grid and you're going to need the skull sheet. Just select the one that you want to grid up to begin with and pop that grid underneath the page in your A4 sketchbook. So you want to start off either around the outside of the skull, or you can start off around the eyes, but you need to be looking really carefully at where those lines of the grid are and matching them up carefully on your A4 page, because remember, you're scaling up. This is not going to be an exact copy. The size is going to be much bigger. So what I'm doing here is I'm now working into the facial features, the eye sockets, the nose, and I'm just refining that initial shape that I did. So if you do go wrong, you've got a rubber, change it. Don't just stick to what you've already drawn. It needs to be accurate, it needs to be correct. So again, I'm refining around the outside, and now I'm working towards the jawline. I'm just plotting in a kind of curved line for the jaw, and then working in some other details that's going to help me later. And then I'm going to go in and start to add in those teeth. I'm looking carefully from both sides, making sure that I've got the right number of teeth, that they're the right scale. I'm just working along the top of the jaw, and then I'm going to start to work into the bottom of the jaw in a moment. So you've got to keep looking really, really carefully at that image in front of you. I know my head's in the way, but I'm constantly looking across at the picture in front of me and making sure that my lines are the same, the shapes are the same. So here I'm just working back over some of those lines. You can see where I've not quite matched it up with the grid, and I'm just adding in a few guidelines that's going to help me for my charcoal. So here I am going in with the charcoal. I'm starting off with the darkest areas first. Okay, you can be quite bold with this. Keep working your way around the image, just plotting in where those darkest areas are. You can't see it, but I've got that skull picture right in front of me. That's telling me all the information I need to know. So now I'm blending out that charcoal really carefully with the tip of my finger, and starting using the excess charcoal that's on my finger to add in those lighter shadows where I don't need it to be pitch black, but I want some kind of representation of it being a little bit lower. So again, I'm working around the outside, being as subtle in some places and much more bold in other places, but still just with the charcoal. I've not touched the chalk yet. Blending away. Don't press too hard. with the edge of your charcoal, because sometimes it can come across a little bit sharp and you can't blend it so easily. So you might want to rough it up on a bit of paper before you start on your skull. So I'm working around the teeth, again using that excess on my fingertip just to help me with those more subtle shades. And now I'm going in with that chalk. So I'm not looking for a grey skull and just chucking chalk everywhere. I'm looking at my picture, looking at where the highlights are, and adding in little bits of chalk and blending them in with the charcoal. Where I want it to be really kind of bright and it kind of accent where the highlights are, I'm not smudging it at all. I'm just applying it on, blowing away the excess, and that's the final outcome.
So we're going to show you how to use food colouring and bleach to create a drawing. Now if you've got paintbrushes at home, use paintbrushes. They will be better, but this is a little tip if you haven't got a paintbrush handy of how you can make a replacement. So all we've got here is a bit of kitchen roll, which we're going to fold into triangles, fold it up as tightly as possible. So that's about the right size there. At the end of it, we want to leave around a finger's width, or maybe just slightly less, but you're going to fit your pencil in like that. And then you want a little bit of sellotape, and you're going to go round as tightly as you can, leaving that little bit spare at the end. That's like your nib, so that's going to absorb the food colouring or the bleach. And then you very delicately and carefully tape around it, like so. Now that one's quite good in the sense that that will absorb the inks or bleach. But if you just want something to spread, then another method is to use cling film. So just tear off a little bit of cling film. You don't need loads. So just like that. Wrap it around the end of a pencil. Is that even under the camera?
Maybe we should do that one again.
I think do this. And there you go, there's your spreading tool. Okay, so you're going to start with a couple of blobs of food colouring and then use a paintbrush or one of your spreaders and just start to push that colour out around the page. Start with light colours, so yellow's good, and then start to build up some of your outlines using a darker colour, so you can see more of the red going on there just to build up those features. And then start to think about where the really dark areas are and go in with a much darker colour. So this is now a bit of green going on top. But obviously as that's mixed in with the red, that's making a more browny kind of colour. And then a bit of blue food colouring on top of that, which is adding even more depth to it. So you kind of go around like that, building up the layers. You may get a bit of leakage, so try and don't overload the ink in any one place if you can avoid it. If you do get a bit of leakage, like you can see there from the nose, don't worry too much about it. You can blend it in, or you can just get another bit of kitchen roll and just mop it up. Okay, and then this is where the magic happens. So we take a bit of normal bleach, and then what you're going to do is look out for where the highlight should be on the skull. And what the bleach does is it strips the food colouring of its colour. So you see a bright white coming out in the places where the bleach is added. On this version, it seems to be taking a bit longer for that colour to be stripped, but you can see it's not instant, but as you leave it for a few seconds, the white starts to come through. So you just keep building that up and come up with your final outcome.